After a lot more positive feedback than I expected, here I am continuing this little game-making experiment. So, what I have from the previous 4 hours? Not much. The problem I am now facing is the Tycoon functionality. Apart from the first stage of wall upgrade, the purchase buttons do not work. Possibly because most Tycoons do not use this sort of progression. Most give you all the buttons at the start, which can bring rather curious signs if bought in the wrong order. That, however, still doesn't change anything about the fact my Tycoon does not work. I decided to make a smaller basic Tycoon model without all the obstructing objects in the Explorer, hoping to find out what is wrong. Well, it still didn't work. Then I figured out I didn't modify the paths here, so I'm very clever, yes. And then I found out it still didn't work. Then I figured out the number of parents in the owner line was incorrect. So I tested it out and I figured out I am an idiot and cannot even count to 3. Never mind. So I was back just staring at the script. Then I found bad number of dot parents once again. Being quite skeptic about my mathematics skills, I recounted it to make sure and modified these. I have no idea what is this line here for, but I thought it was wrong, so I tested it and... What? What? I was stopping to understand. And then I saw another dot parent number mistake. I thought, this is the last time I am trying, mostly because it was the last line of the script involving dot parents. And yes, it worked! It had some removal delay, but I was happy for anything. After a surge of joy, I began to implement this into the per compound. I created a first pre-everything button, just in case I would have time to make more compound styles as originally planned. Then I started messing the scripts up horribly. But eventually it was ready to go, and then Bandicam sort of broke. But I got it up and running shortly, and then it didn't work, and then everything started breaking, so I rather end it for the day. The next session I had a look at the script. Inserted the 3 currency system, but apparently it did not work, so I tried inserting the 3 currencies into the basic testing Tycoon to see if the error comes from there. And it didn't work either. I was puzzled. Anyhow, after some time I finally figured out that I'm missing the upgrade cost 2 and upgrade cost 3 definitions. And it worked with that. Why? I have some serious dot parent issues again, I guess. And with that in mind, I got back to staring at scripts. It should work, and it does somehow, but this doesn't. Did I modify anything? No. What is different? I think that Lua is now just toying with me. Still though, one button working, others not. I'm successfully back where I was 40 minutes ago. Congratulations. So, back at dot parenting. And now it's the time! Yes! Yes! Oh, for what am I doing wrong? Okay, one button at a time. I'm improving, that's something. Still, this should work. For some obscure reason it does not. I don't even... What is the problem? I would believe it is some sort of Roblox studio problem, if it wouldn't work perfectly well in the testing Tycoon site. Why? I came to the conclusion that the problem has to be in the script paths. Yet my dot parent counting skills were unable to support such statement. So I started randomly cutting and increasing the number of dot parents. It was far more reliable than me trying to count. Nonetheless, that brought no progress either. After some time I just decided to try and rework the spare compound structure to be closer to the basic testing tycoon. Not that it would help. Once again, Lua won the battle and I retreated to gather the rest of my mental capabilities. Thinking over my options, I went to look into this a bit more the next session, dissecting the tycoon buttons. What I found out was alarming to say the least. Every single progression step of the barricade works if placed under another purchase buttons, with a single exception, the godforsaken second level. I have been doing all of this assuming that there is something wrong with the scripts, while seemingly only the second level did not work for some obscure reason I cannot explain. I just cannot. It works alone, but not when placed under another button. Don't know why. The scripts for working level 1 and the non-working level 2 are just identical. One works, one does not. Uploaded it to Roblox to try there. Same thing. And guess what? When I wasn't recording, it worked. It's all a conspiracy. So I reset the place to the earlier version. Tried again, and it worked. What? So I reset it again, edited the place, saw that the scripts are entirely identical. Tested both of the places outside of the Roblox servers, and none worked. So, in conclusion, it sometimes works online. This gameplay stability has blown my mind. But I did not have the time for this. I could consult some scripting specialists later, but now I've essentially wasted more than an hour and a half figuring out that Lua is deliberately screwing with me. Before going in next time, I actually saw this. Why have I never thought of this earlier? Seeing the output will be a great help. Or it would be if it actually worked. I can't even see the print command, but okay. For some reason it isn't logging. I decided not to really be bothered by that. I started with the junk collection. Junk, previously called scrap, would spawn around the map and drop from enemies. I found an appropriate script and implemented it. It's underlined with a red thing. Whatever, let's test it. Didn't work, so I went back, renamed it, and does it actually need not to have a digit at the beginning of the name? Well, there we go, testing number 2, and nope. Wait, what? Why did it spawn there? Because that's where I was putting it to lightning from. On a more positive note, the junk collection itself seems to work properly, and then I noticed the path is wrong, as usual. It was made for tools, that's why it worked earlier and not now. So I just fixed the path, and yes, that could be. I will make more scrap variations and implement those when working on the enemies and the map later. But it's good to know it works as intended, unlike some other things. Now, tree cutting. I thought about it a bit. The problem is that every tree yields the same amount of wood. It can be changed, but it doesn't depend on the tree, but on the axe, which I don't like as much. I went to script it so that the amount of wood is dependent upon the tree. After looking at the script for a while, I thought it may be possible to make more options, like if it hits a small tree, give one amount of wood, and if it hits a big tree, give a big amount of wood. And chopping wood ceased to work. So back to scripts. Well, trial and error. Let's try making more variations and copy this thing over everything. So yellow works, blue falls down but does not give wood, green does not work, and yellow is broken now as well. Well, brilliant! Turns out I did not make 3 gold 3. Still wouldn't explain why green does not work though. Guess what? More colors! Yes! It works! Great! And now metal. I originally had this planned for wood, but figured out that making planks fall out of chopped trees would be impossible for me, scripting-wise. So metal is to be found lying around the map. There may be a building later on that will allow you to convert junk to metal, but this is the core idea. Metal will spawn at things like broken buildings, cars, sheds and similars. It will be a tool. You will have to pick it up, get back to your compound and drop it off there into a specialized building and stuff for some unexplained reason. And I got just the things I needed to make it work. I took this thing from the Tycoon preset and modified the script. And then figured out that if I called it handle, you could drop any of your tools in it for profit. Well, no, not like that. Let's see if this would work. Yeah, and it did not work. So I tried if it works in the original form with the handle, and it did. So at this point I just decided to stop and reflect upon my actions, possibly ask for some help from qualified scripters. So this far I've got non-working 5 stages of the pier barricade and a basic gathering system in place. The metal gathering needs to be modified, but I will ask about that.